Great things are happening. Then I got a text message. Somebody got their car paid off. Lord have mercy. I'm going to let them testify on their own. I'm just telling. I just need to give you just a little sneak peek of what God is doing. Come on, when you get your car paid off, somebody come along and say, I'm going to pay it off for you. He's a faithful God. And I'm telling you, whatever it is that you are expecting him to do, if you stay in the right posture and position, I promise you he's going to see you through. I'm telling you, I told you 2021 is the year of obedience. It's the year for us to trust and obey God. I just believe that all that we went through in this last season was to put us in a position that we would trust him no matter what, to put us in a position that our feet were planted and solid and standing on a solid foundation. I just believe all that you have suffered up to this point was not just suffering. It was not in vain, but it was to mature you. It was to prepare you for what God is getting ready to push you into. Hey, coach, how you doing? What God was trying to prepare you and push you into for this next season. And so I want you to make sure that you posture yourself to be in a place of radical obedience. I'm telling you, it's nothing like it. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I keep laying down the foundation. Tuesday, we had a time because there's something about obeying God. It's something about, I'm telling you, there's a strength when we obey God. There's a strength when we know that we've heard from God. And so I want you to recognize and understand that your ears have been prepared to obey God. Your ears have been prepared to be in tune with God. You've got to know that all that I've been through, it's so that I could be a better hearer. And if I'm a good hearer, then I can be a better doer. We talked about Simon Says, and I'm trying to tell you, I need you to keep that in your pocket, that listen, I got to be so in tune with God that whatever he says do, I got to be like Nike. I got to just do it. I've got to take radical action. I've got to move by faith. There's an action required to my trust. If I trust him, then there's a corresponding action that must follow. If I trust him, then I got to go back to the instructions that he said and do them. If I trust them, I must do them. And so we got to understand that he's not going to give us a new instruction until we obey the last instruction. Some of us ought to be being busy obeying the last instruction God gave you. Some of y'all don't have time to be sitting with your arms crossed, feet on the coffee table, because you have instructions that you have not yet obeyed. And so you've got to find yourself in a place that you obey God. All right, we just talking. I'm trying to catch you up. Some of y'all are new. Some of y'all have never been to Believers Empowerment Church before. And so we want to welcome you. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm just trying to catch you up on what 2021 has looked like. We have hit the ground running. The doors have been opened. Gates have been released. And I'm telling you what God has promised. It's on its way to your house. What God said that you could have, he's getting ready to make sure that you get manifestation in this season. And so this morning, after praying and after talking to God, I said, Lord, what are we talking about? He said, I want you to stay right where you are, because there are some people that cannot afford to miss what God is about to do next. They cannot afford to miss what God is about to do in their life. And so I began to think about, when I grew up, I never really understood all the sacrifices, Cherie, that my mother made. I never really understood in my world, hey, anything I asked for, she had it. But as I grew up, I learned of the sacrifices that she made. I used to brag on her, Elder Hubbard, and just say she was a great provider. My mother was a person that if she had it, you had it. My mother was a person that we didn't go without, we didn't lack. And so from a child's eye, you see that as, wow, your mother is amazing. She's Superwoman. Your father's amazing. He's Superman. And you never know the sacrifices that they made. You never knew that they went hungry so you wouldn't. You never knew that they had to move money around to make sure that you had the school supplies that you needed. And so sometimes we can get in a place and we can brag on people in our life being great providers, but we don't know the backstory. We don't know the sacrifice that had to be made. We don't know the obedience that they had to endure, even when they didn't understand. They had to move anyway. They had to trust God anyway. All they had was prayer and a plan, and they knew they had to execute the plan. And all we're doing is celebrating the outcome of obedience, but we don't understand the sacrifice of obedience. We don't understand that there's a price to be paid, and sometimes the cost is great. We don't understand. I'm trying to tell you, we don't understand what it is to have to raise 12 children on an income that says you cannot afford one child. We don't know the sacrifice that it is for the entrepreneur to be the boss that they are. We don't know that it takes late nights and early mornings. But sometimes we know how to celebrate the end result, but we don't know that we got to go and we got to look deeper at the one that is providing. And so sometimes, even in this Christian journey, oh God, we have not experienced God as a great provider. And some people are hating on you for how God has blessed you, but they don't know the sacrifices. They don't know how you had to trust God. They don't know how you had to believe God, that you had to move even when you didn't understand. You had to take a step of faith even when you knew it didn't make sense to those that are around you. Oh, but our God is such a great provider. He always makes a way out of no way. And so I begin to talk to God, and he says, I need you to go to Genesis chapter number 22. I said, okay, God. He says, I need you to go to Genesis, because oftentimes I don't think that we fully understand what God is requiring of us. Oftentimes I don't think that we understand what's really going on in our life. Am I talking to anybody this morning who says, I'm right there? I'm not really sure. I'm trying to trust and obey anyway, but I can't tell you that I always understand. You know, we all have been in a place where, my God, that I had to make some sacrifices. Did I always want to go to work? No, but I knew I had a family depending on me. Did I always feel like I had money to pay my tithes, give an offering? No, but I knew that he loved a cheerful giver, and I knew that if I would give, he would give back to me, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Oh God, do I always want to pray? Do I always want to read the word? Not necessarily. Oh, there's a favorite show that you want to watch, but you know, in order to build your relationship with God, my God, there are some sacrifices that have to be made. Do you always want to cook? Do you always want to clean up? No, but you understand it's not just for you, but you're showing your children a better way. You know that you're doing something that's not going to just affect your life, but it's going to affect generations to come. So I want to rest this morning, if I can, in Genesis 22, a very familiar passage, I believe. But I want to talk to us this morning. Let's see. I guess I will read it out of, let me read it out of the Message Bible just for clarity. Well, let's do the King James first, okay? And it came to pass. Oh God. See, I can stop right there. I'm trying to tell you, I don't know what just came in your life, but I come to tell you this morning that it came to pass. Oh yeah, I know the burden, the weight of it. I know the anxiety. It might have hit you, but I want you to recognize and understand that it came to pass. It did not come to stay. It came to pass. If you would just hold on a little while longer, you got to know that it came to pass. But the Bible says, and it came to pass after these things that God did tempt. In this context, tempt means test, because God never tempts you. God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. He called him and he heard him. I told thee, circumcise in your ear. And he said, take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw a place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, God have mercy, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and the knife, and they both went to them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, my father. He said, here am I, my son. And he said, behold the fire and the wood, but there is no lamb for a burnt offering. And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son. What a sacrifice. And laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son, his only son, the son that he loved. And the angel of the Lord, verse number 11, and the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of this place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Lord have mercy. He called the place Jehovah Jireh. Oh my God. God will provide. Oh my God, I need to talk to y'all for a minute. I don't even think y'all heard me. I'm gonna read it in the Message Bible so you can get clear. But Father, I'm asking that you would open up their ears that they might hear and their heart that they might receive. We give you praise in advance in Jesus' name. Listen, I hope you caught what I just said. Let me unfold it. Can I do that? Can I do that? Because it ain't gonna make no sense to you. Listen what the Message Bible says. After all this, God tested Abraham. Oh God. Oh, you didn't know that you had to be tested if you was gonna trust and obey. You didn't know that the trial would come. You didn't know that the circumstance would come. He said God tested Abraham. God said Abraham called him. He said, yes, answered Abraham. I'm listening. He said, take your son, your dear son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will point out to you. Now he says, take your dear son, the one that you loved. And I deal with that because y'all maybe y'all don't know how dear Isaac is to Abraham. Abraham got up early in the morning and saddled his donkey. He took two of his young servants and his son Isaac. He had split wood for the burnt offering. He set out for the place God had directed him. On the third day, he looked up and saw the place in a distance. Abraham told the two young servants, it's personal. You didn't go as far as you can go. He told his servants, listen, you and the donkey stay here. The boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac, his son, to carry. Now I got to carry what I'm getting ready to be put on. God have mercy. He carried the flint and the knife. The two of them went off together. Isaac said to Abraham, his father, because by now he's getting confused. He's trying to understand. Now I know that we often go here and we go here to sacrifice. We go here to worship, and then we go here and we're going to kill something. He said, he's walking now and he's realizing, okay, we got the wood, we got the fire. He says, yes, my son. He says, we have flint and wood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering? He said, I done got confused now. He said, I'm trying to figure out, I know what you're going to do. I know that you do this all the time. I know that you go to worship. I know that something got to die. I know that we create an altar because we got to make a sacrifice before the Lord, but this one looked different. I'm trying to get an understanding, Dad. I got some questions. I know that there's a call on your life, but whoa, I need to understand. I know you trust in God. I know you obeying, but can I get a little understanding right up in here? He says, I see the flint. I see the wood, but I don't see no sheep. So I'm trying to figure out what in the world are we going to sacrifice? And they kept on walking together. Abraham ain't said nothing. They just kept walking. They arrived at the place to which God had directed him. Abraham built the altar and laid out the wood. Can you imagine it? Then he tied up Isaac and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son. Can you imagine him saying, "Now wait, something went wrong here, Dad, remember I'm your favorite. Remember I'm your only son. Remember I'm the one that you had in your old age. Hold on, what we doing?" Because see, Isaac didn't get the instruction. Abraham did. Sometimes there are going to be people in your life that are not going to understand how you move. There are going to be people in your life that's not going to understand your act of obedience. There are some people in your life that God might require you to kill. There are some people in your life that you might have to sacrifice, and they're not going to understand. But God did not give them the instructions. He gave the instruction to you. Oh my God. And so he ties him up and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and to take the knife to kill his son. Just then, Lord, somebody say, just in the nick of time. My God, I almost killed it. I almost blew it. I almost lost it. I almost threw in the towel. I almost cursed God and died. Oh, but just in the nick of time, an angel of God called out of heaven, "Abraham." Oh God, that's what I told you. You got to know that you can hear God in this hour. You've got to know that you're a better listener than talker in this season. "Abraham, Abraham." Yes. Lay a hand on that boy. Don't touch him. Now I know how fearlessly you fear God. You didn't hesitate to place your son, your dear son, on the altar for me. Abraham looked up. He saw a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. Lord have mercy. Abraham named the place Jehovah Jireh. Oh Lord. That's where we get the saying, on the mountain of God, he sees to it. God gonna see to it. God gonna see to what? He gonna see that the promise comes to pass. He's going to see. But let's rewind just a minute. Nona, can we rewind just a minute? Just in the nick of time. See, you don't understand. You won't understand this if you don't understand that Abraham lived a sacrificial life. God was always challenging him to do what he's never done so he could get what he never had. You got to know that his name was Abram. Before he even got the hand, that he lived this life of sacrifice. We can go back to Genesis 12 when the Lord told him to leave his country, leave his people, leave his father, and go to a place that he would show him. He always lived a life of sacrifice. That's why I say you got people that won't cheer for you now, but they don't know where you've been. They don't know the sacrifice that it cost you just to get where you are. You got people that won't even celebrate you, that won't clap, that won't applaud at the fact that you are where you are now. They think you need to be further along, but you to get where you are. Yeah, you despising the fact that I got a 3-bedroom apartment. Oh, but you don't know when I used to live in my car. Oh, sometimes people can't celebrate where you are because they don't know the sacrifices you had to make to get here. Sometimes you can't even be mad at the folk that are in your life, that are around your life, that cannot appreciate your relationship with God because they were not there when you were in the club and you didn't know God. They were not there when you was a professional, drop it like it's hotter. They were not there when you could smoke the best smoke, when you could drink the best drink. They don't know the sacrifices you made. They don't know that you had to leave your mama, your daddy, your cousin, them, that you're the only person in your family that worships God. Sometimes people can't celebrate you now because they don't know the sacrifices that you had to make. Oh, I lived in hand-me-downs. We had 6 and 7 other siblings, and you just had to wait on them to grow out of it so you could get it next. Sometimes people don't understand that this is not your first time having to trust God. This is not your first time having to obey instructions that you didn't understand. This is not your first time having to give up what you love and trust God to provide. This is not the first time that you had to go and do a thing and just believe God that he was going to show up in the nick of time. Oh, we talking about Abraham today. We talking about Abraham. You got to understand he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. Then the Lord goes to him and he says, Abram, leave your country. Leave what's familiar. Leave your people and your father's house. I don't need you with a plan B. I don't need you with a plan C. He says, okay, that's good. He said, but I want you to go to a land that I'll show you. He said, you want me to give up all of this. You want me to give up the business. You want me to give up the job. You want me to give up the relationship. You want me to give up all of this. And you're telling me to go to a place you gonna show me? You ain't even showed me yet. I haven't had a dream. I haven't had a vision. Nobody prophesied to me. This is not confirmation. You just want me to step out and move by faith. I'm talking about Abraham. He's always found himself betwixt and between. He's always found himself in a pickle. He's always found himself in a place where he had to trust God. And then what happens when he has to leave his favorite nephew? He has to leave Lot. He says, "Now I'm trying to tell you what I'm getting ready to do in your life. It's going to cause great sacrifice. You're going to have to leave some folk. You're going to have to leave them behind. Oh yeah, they can't go where you're going. I'm telling you, it's crucial." And he's saying, but that's my nephew. He like my son. I pretty much raised him. And then we start having separation anxiety. Anxiety because we can't separate from what God is telling us to walk away from. He says, I don't have any kids. He might be the heir to the throne. He might be the one that if anything happened to me, that he's going to be the one that gets the inheritance. But you have to understand that God had other plans. So he says, nope, I need you to leave him too. And see, that's why we got to be very careful when God tells us to get out. Sometimes he tells us to get out, which means you got to leave them there. He told me to get out. He didn't tell we to get out. He told me to move. He told me to go on. He told me to move forward. And sometimes we want to take folk with us. But if they don't trust God like us, they're going to end up being a hindrance. If they can't obey God like we can, then they'll slow us down in the way that we should go. I'm just talking. I got to give you some backstory before we get to Genesis 22, because you got to understand Abram has always been in a place that he had to trust God. Every step he took, it was a faith step. Every move he made, it was a faith step. Anybody life been like that? That man, listen, everything I did, it was by faith. Every step I made, it was by faith. I opened a bank account by faith. I started the business by faith. I stepped out and put my resume in by faith. I called them back before they called me by faith. You went to the mortgage company by faith. You went to the car lot by faith. You said yes, Lord, to the call on your life by faith. Oh my God, you wrote the book by faith. My God, is there anybody that understands what it is to have to move by faith? You got more faith than you do degrees. You got more faith than you do money. You got more faith, oh God, that you said, Lord, I'm just doing it. I know I don't qualify. I know people are going to talk about me. I know they're going to laugh at me, but this is the season that I must move by faith. So here we go. He had to leave his own country. He had to leave his people. He had to leave his father's house. He had to leave his favorite nephew, Lot. But then guess what? God, he realized that he had no kids. God promised him and his wife children. And guess what? It took a long time. Oh, here we go. We got to be careful when God promises us something. And though it tarry, we forced to wait for it, because the worst thing we can do is create a plan B. The worst thing we can do is put our hand on what God has his hand in. Y'all didn't hear what I said. The worst thing you can do is put your hand on what God has his hand in. The worst thing you can do is come up with a plan B when God only had plan A. And so what did he do? He says, listen, I don't know if this is going to work. Sarah's old, but I tell you what. Now, you got to know that when he had Ishmael, he was 86 years old when he had Ishmael. But he said, well, and just in case, I just don't believe Sarah can do it. And you know what? Here's my handmaid. I'm going to have a son, but I'm going to have it with a plan B. Lord have mercy. And sometime plan B will get you in a world of trouble. Plan B can mess up a happy home. Plan B can get us out of the will of God. How many times were you tempted to have a plan B even in the midst of you waiting on God? You know what God said, you know what he promised, but boy, it's taking a long time. Maybe I need to put my hands on it. Maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to call the one that always show up in the nick of time. Maybe I need to call him. Maybe I need to call her. Maybe I need to get somebody else involved, because me waiting on God don't look like it's gonna ever come to pass. And so here comes Ishmael, whose name means God will hear. He ain't heard because this was plan B. This was not the manifestation. And you've got to know you're in a season of your life that the counterfeit always comes before the real thing. You got to resist getting antsy. You got to resist getting anxious. Oh yeah, the fake car come before the real car. You're going to see 5 houses that look like the house God said, but it ain't the one. Ishmael always comes before Isaac. You got to be careful, and you got to be willing to wait. Somebody say, I don't have a plan B. No plan B. No plan B. I don't have time to have to go around this mountain again because I put my hand on something God had his hand in. And so then now we find Abraham in another predicament with Isaac. 4 years later, he has Isaac at the age of 90. 4 years later, he has Ishmael at 86. He has Isaac, he has Isaac at 94 years. 4, the number of seasons, north, south, east, and west. Summer, winter, spring, and fall. He said, I got to wait. You got to wait another season to get manifestation. Oh God, I can't afford to put my hand on what God got his hand in. I can't afford to miss my season. I can't afford to miss my moment because I went with a plan B. He waited 4 years for a season to come again. Kavana, you better hear what I'm saying. He had to wait another season, but I promise you, oh God, even if you messed up, even if you blew it, even though you might have to wait another season, thank God for mercy that another season is coming. Somebody say, not only is it coming, I'm standing in my season. Last season I had a plan B, but I declare that this is my season of Isaac. He will laugh is what his name means. Ishmael say he will hear her, but he said because you was willing to wait till your next season, now you gonna laugh. You gonna laugh because you didn't believe it. You gonna laugh because you didn't believe God would do it. You gonna laugh just like Sarah did when she heard it. I promise you the blessing of the Lord this season is going to make you laugh, Pastor Finley. It's going to blow your mind. Oh, the blessing of the Lord this season gonna tickle you. Oh my God, you're gonna laugh real loud. I know the devil thought he got. I declare that you get the last laugh. Oh, I know the enemy thought he knocked the wind out of you, but I declare you'll get the last laugh. Isaac name mean he will laugh. I'm a laugh at what? I'm a laugh at every trial. I'm a laugh at every storm. I'm a laugh at every test. I'm a laugh at every tear I cried because God was preparing me for something greater than I knew. And I'm telling you, you just entered into a season of laughter. Oh God, you just entered into a season of laughter. You got to know laughter is like a medicine. Some of y'all just need a good laugh. Some of y'all just need to laugh a minute. Oh God, it's healing to you. Oh God, it just makes you feel better. Laughter brings about joy. It'll cause depression to take off running. It'll cause despair to take off running. But he birthed Isaac. So now I bring you to Genesis 22 because see, you got to understand why Isaac was his beloved son. Why he said it was his only son. Now Isaac was not his only son, but oh Lord, I don't. Okay, all right. But God said, in the context of my will and my divine purpose, Isaac is the one I spoke. Ishmael is the one you did. Isaac is what I spoke of. Ishmael is what you manufactured. Oh God, so sometimes we wonder why God won't even acknowledge what you manufactured. He says, I'm going to only speak about what's in my will. I'm going to speak about what's, yes, he was. But God told him about Isaac. Oh my God. So I'm trying to make it make sense so you can understand why the Bible is speaking this way, why the Bible is talking like this. When he says, after this, God tested Abraham. This was a test, Lily. This was a test. Oh God, all I had went through to get the promise, all I had went through, I made some mistakes. I had some plans that were outside of the will of God. Me and Sarah, we've left everything. We ain't got nothing else to lose. We've been moving by faith and nobody understood us. And here I go again. I'm 90 years old. I'm old in age and I'm still going through tests. I'm still going through storms. I'm still going through trials because some of us trying to figure out, my God, when will it end? He said, no, it'll never end. He said, he that begun a good work shall perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. He's always working on us. He's always perfecting us. So now it makes sense in the Message Bible when it says God tested Abraham. But God called him first. He's checking his hearing. I told you, Simon says he's checking his hearing. The Bible says God said, Abraham, he said, I want to see if his ear is still circumcised. Yes, answered Abraham, I'm listening. He said, I'm trying to make sure he can hear my voice. I'm trying to make sure that he's in tune. Oh God, have you ever been in your house and you was in your house by yourself, but you knew somebody called you? Have you ever been in your house, the children upstairs in their room, and you go, huh? And they like, what you talking about? I didn't call you. I used to do it all the time as a little girl. My mama would always tell me, baby, that's God calling you because I ain't called you. And I would just go, yes, Lord, because he was talking to me so loud that it sounded audible. He was talking to me so loud. He was trying to get my attention that it was as if somebody was in. Anybody ever been there that you can hear God calling? Oh my God, that you can hear God calling you. He's calling you higher. He's calling you deeper. He's calling you closer. He's calling you up. Anybody ever heard God call them and you answered audibly because it sounded so real? He's calling you. Have you ever heard him say, Shalonda? Have you ever heard him say, Tanisha? What y'all want? And guess what? Everybody in the house is looking at you like you done lost your mind because it was the Lord calling you. It was the voice of God calling you. Anybody ever been there known that you've heard God calling and it was so audible that it almost shook you, Pastor Finley, that you heard God call? I'm trying to tell you, if you have not heard it, you better open your ears, Felicia, because he's about to call you. He wants to make sure that you can hear him. He wants to make sure there's a real connection. He wants to make sure you're under the coverage area. He wants to make sure, Charlotte, you've heard that. You've heard him call you, almost jump out of your sleep because you think somebody really in the house has called your name and you respond with, huh? And everybody's looking at you because nobody called you. It was God calling. It was God trying to get your attention. So he says, Lord, I'm listening. He says, I want you to take your dear son. He even acknowledged that the son is dear. He says, I know what I'm getting ready to ask you to do is not going to feel comfortable. Oh, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. I know what I'm getting ready to ask you to do. Have you ever been asked to sacrifice something that it almost killed you to get? Have you ever been asked to sacrifice something that you thought was so dear to you? Have you ever been asked to sacrifice something that you said, my God, I prayed 20 years just to get it. It cost me everything. It cost me relationships. It cost me friendships. It cost me money. It cost me blood, sweat, and tears. And you would, of all things, you would pick the thing that's dear to me. He says, because obedience got to cost you something. Obedience got to cost you something or the sacrifice would not be necessary. Take your dear son, Isaac, whom you love. I know you love it. I know it's dear to you. And go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering. Can you imagine hearing this? Here's instruction coming down. Said, I want you to take what you love and go and sacrifice it on the altar. I want you to take what you love and present it before me. I want you to take what you love and lay it down. He said, I'm a jealous God. I ain't gonna have nobody before me. I know you love it, but love me more. I know you love it, but are you willing to lay it down? I know you love it, but will you give it to me? I know you love it, but will you kill it for the sake of the call? I know you love it, but love me more. I know you love it, but love it so much that you're willing to lay it down. Oh God, how many times have you been blessed, but then you forget about the one that gave you the blessing? How many times have God made a way, open doors, but we forget to say thank you. We forget to give him glory. We forget to respond to the fact that he brought down manifestation in our life. He said, I cannot afford for you to get so caught up in the blessing that you forget about the blesser. I need to make sure your heart is in the right place. I need to make sure your mind is in the right place. So I've got to test you. I've got to cause you to do something that would almost disturb you, that would almost destroy you. Some of y'all waiting on mates. He said, but listen, when you get it, I'm gonna ask you to sacrifice it. I'm gonna ask you to turn it away. When you get the car, I'm gonna tell you don't drive it for a week. I just want to see. I want to see when you were just worshiping so you could get it, or you were worshiping because you knew I would give it and you would give it to me. That you would give it to me and you would give me glory and that you would give me honor. He says, I need to know in this hour where your heart is. I need to know in this hour where your mind is, because I'm getting ready to prepare you to do something great in the earth. But I need to know that you'll trust and obey me. I need you to know that I am your great provider. I need you to know that I am the one who provides. I provided you Isaac. Surely I will provide. So Abraham, now look, this is what I love. Here's the thing. Number one, God calls and requires us to obey. He calls and requires us to obey him. Just like we call and require other people to obey us. Huh? We want our children to obey us. We want employees to obey us. We want people that we're working with to obey us. But when God requires us to obey him, we have a problem. So then he says, the Bible says, and Abraham got up early in the morning. The greater the cost, the greater the sacrifice. Oh, Jesus. The greater the cost, the greater the sacrifice. Abraham got the instruction. Evidently, it had to be at night because the Bible says early the next morning he got up. He didn't waste no time. Now, can you imagine that I get instructions the night before about killing my dear son? That I've got to go and sacrifice him. Now, there's enough time between night and morning that I get to think about it, ponder it. Am I going to obey? Am I not? Am I going to do this? Did I really hear that? Is that what God really said? But the first thing he did that morning, he jumped up and he got ready to go. He jumped up. He said, hey, the early bird get the worm. I heard what he said. I know the instructions. Obedience is required. I've got to move on it right now. He didn't say I'm going to do it at 12 noon, maybe at lunchtime, trying to give God a chance to change his mind. He heard the instructions. The Bible says that he got up early and he prepared to obey. He saddled up his donkey. He said, I need 2 servants to go with me. And come on, Isaac, let's go. Now, he did not share the instructions with Isaac. Some of us get in trouble with God and people because we do too much talking instead of doing. All I got to do is do. Now, if somebody's involved, all I'm going to tell you is ride with me. Where we going? Just ride. Because he didn't tell me to give you the instructions. So I'm trusting God. You got to trust me. You got to know that if I'm telling you to ride, you part of the instruction. He set out to the place that God directed him on the 3rd day. Now, mind you, they're on this journey. It's 3 days. He's got to think about this. Sometimes the anticipation of death is worse than death itself. Sometimes the anticipation to have to obey God is worse than obeying God. Can you imagine? You got 3 days to think about this, to ponder this. You want to tell Isaac, but you can't. You want to tell him, oh God, Dad, you know Daddy love you. You know I appreciate you so much. You know you're the apple of my eye, son. Could you imagine that he wanted to tell him all of that, but he couldn't. And they just on their way. They just journeying. And Isaac like, we doing what we always done. But Daddy knew that this time it was different. God was requiring him for a greater sacrifice. God was requiring him to another level of obedience. 3 days it took. On the 3rd day, he looked up and saw the place in the distance. Oh God, lesson number 2. Sacrifice doesn't always come with answers. God, I need some answers. Wait a minute. Why? No, I just got to get up early in the morning. No delay, no dilly-dallying, no procrastination, unwavering obedience, radical obedience. I've got to get up and I've got to do. I don't have time to delay. I don't have time to procrastinate. I got to get up and take action. He's learned. Why? How did he learn? Because he had to go when he didn't understand where he was going in times past. So he says, I've been there, done that. I don't have no answers. This doesn't make sense. The only thing I know how to do over times in my life is to obey God. The only thing I know how to do is to trust God. This looks like, thank God for receipts. This looked like the last time when he told me to leave my family and leave my kindred and leave my country. This reminds me of the time and he told me that I couldn't do nothing. All I got to do is trust him based on my experience with him. Some of y'all, God just trying to give you an experience with him. Some of y'all been trying to return stuff, but you ain't got no receipt. God said, in this hour, I want to make sure that your purse is full of receipts. I want to make sure your wallet is full of receipts. That you know that I have come through for you before. That you know that I have made a way out of no way before. That you know that I've always brought you out before. I'm trying to give you some receipts. I need to give you some experience. I need to give you some history with me, that you know I am the great provider, that you know I am the one that will make you laugh, that I am the one that can get you out of your plan B. So he takes the young servants and his son Isaac. They had the wood for the offering, so on and so forth. They find the place. 3 days later, he looks at the servants. He says, okay, this personal, y'all not going to understand it. You stay here with the donkey. But look at this. Look what he said. Look what he said, because I need you to catch this. He says, stay here, let me see. In the King James, in the Message Bible, it's verses 3 through 5. In the King James, it is verse 5. In the Message Bible, he says, stay here with the donkey, talking to the servants. He says, the boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you. Did y'all hear that? The boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll, W-E''L', will, means we will. Both of us. Wait a minute. Hold on. Because I got instruction to go and kill my dear son. I got an instruction to go sacrifice my son. Now, I got an instruction to do it, but my receipts say that God always make a way. I got an instruction to do it, but I got some receipts that God has always, made a way out of no way. He's always provided for me. He's always brought me out. He's always been a sustainer. So then we'll come back to you. He prophesied. He said, I'm going to do what he said, but some kind of way. I don't know how he going to do it. I don't know how he going to get me out. I don't know how I'm going to get the promotion. I don't know how the elevation is coming. I don't know how the door is going to be open. All I know is that I'm going over here to worship and we'll be back with a testimony. I don't know, but all I know is that I'm going over here to lift my hands. I'm going over here to open my mouth. I'm going over here to give him glory. And all I can tell you is we'll be back. We'll be back with the new car. We'll be back with keys in our hand. We'll be back with the degree. We'll be back with revelation. We'll be back with insight. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I tell you this, we will be back. I'm not going to leave what I love. I ain't going to let it die. Now, I don't know what God going to do. It's not on me to figure that out. The only part that I have to play is that I've got to trust and obey. I don't need to know how. I just need to know who. Some of y'all so busy worrying about the how, but how he gonna do it? How he gonna make a way? How the door gonna be open? I don't worry about the how, Kamisha. I just need to worry about the who. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I know who gonna make it happen. I know who the great provider is. I didn't care, Elder Rollins, what was happening at school. I could come home and tell my mama, they said we need this and this and this for band. I need uniforms. I need boots. I need practice this. And all she wanted to know was how much it cost. And see, I went to the right one. one who I knew was a great provider. All I told my teacher is that I'll be back with the money tomorrow. How she was going to do it, I didn't know her, but I knew who would make a way out of no way. I knew who would come through for me. My God, I knew who had provided for me in times past. So I was trusting in the right one. And you best believe by Monday morning, I would walk into my band director and say, here you go. I would slap the money on the table. Why? Because I was never stressed out about how it was going to get done. Because I knew I had a who in my life. I had a great provider. I had somebody that had always opened doors, who had always made a way. And I thank God for Jesus, because some of us, like me, my mama gone on. She can't provide no more, y'all. Lakeisha, my daddy, gone on. He can't provide. But I thank my God today that he is a great provider, that I can prophesy in advance that I'm going to worship and will be back. I'm going to worship and my joy coming home with me. I'm going to worship and my peace will come back with me. I'm going to worship. Oh, but my passion is coming back with me. I'm trying to tell you, you've got to be able to prophesy in the midst of the greatest sacrifice you ever made and say, don't worry, don't fret. I'm going to worship and we'll be back. We will return. We will recover. We will get back to the place that we've always been. The boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you. Lord have mercy. I'm trying to tell you, this is getting ready to be one of the greatest comebacks of your life. Oh yeah, you went to worship and folk have forgot you left. They don't know if you coming back or not. They think that you left, and not only did it die, you died. Some people have been waiting on your arrival. They've been waiting on your return. They done left the place that you told them to wait at. They done went on about their business. But I got a surprise for them. You're about to have one of the greatest comebacks you ever had. Will come back to you. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the greatest returns that you ever had. Then Abram kept on obeying God. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac, his son, to carry. Carry the wood. He don't know he carrying what he getting ready to be laid on. He gets the wood, because godly obedience should be swift. When God speak, honey, you got a space of grace to respond. When God talk to you, you've got to move with haste. You got to take action. That instruction needs to get to your feet. As fast as you hear it, you need to act on it. So he goes and he tells him, hey, carry the wood. He carried the flint and the knife, and the two of them went off together. But by this time, my sacrifice is realizing that something is wrong. Oh yeah, that's some folk. Why you think they keep calling you? We good? You okay? Because they know they're getting ready to be sacrificed. They know something is going down. I'm just trying to I haven't heard from you. Just trying to make sure we all right. Yeah, we good. But they don't know that God says, I know that that's the one you go to all the time, but I need you not to talk to him for 7 days. Remember, I am your great provider. I know that's who you lean on all the time. I know that's where you think your help come from. I know they always bail you out, but I dare you to sacrifice them. I dare you to sacrifice it and get some receipts from me and get a relationship with me. Get an experience with me. I dare you lay them down. I ain't gonna make you kill them, but I dare you to lay them down. I dare you to say, Lord, I'm willing to sacrifice plan B, C, D, E, F, and G, because I need an experience with you. I need an encounter with you. I need you to know where my heart and my mind is. This is the hour of obedience. I must trust and obey God. And when I do, I will see success naturally and spiritually. When I do, there will be increase and abundance. But can God test you like he did Abraham? They go together. And by this time, Isaac says to his daddy, Father, yes, my son. He's making an observation. We have flint and wood, but there's no sacrifice. Dad, what's going on? I don't do this, but I've seen you do it time and time again. I don't do it, but I've watched you do it time and time again. I realize now something is missing. I realize now that we're one item short. I realize now that We got a Houston, we have a problem. I realized something is wrong. Abraham said, son, God will see to it that there's a sheep for the burnt offering. And they kept on walking together. He said, there's no sheep. He just kept walking. He said, son, there will be. Don't worry about it. So can you imagine? He's thinking, now we've been on this journey 3 days. We're about to go. We done left the donkey. Now we walking to where God told us to go, and we missing something. You tell him we're going to go all the way back. And have you ever parked far in a parking lot? You're on your way walking to the stadium, only to realize once you're about to approach the stadium, you got to go all the way back. I got to go back and get something because we left it. Surely not. Oh my God, we got everything but what we need. We got everything for the sacrifice, but there is no sacrifice. He says, listen, God will see to it that there is a sheep when we need it. They arrive to the place, they get to the place where God told them to go. And he said, okay, I got to keep walking. If he don't stop me, I got to kill it, because I got to keep walking, but I'm expecting him to show up. Obedience both relies on God for strength and expects God to deliver. Obedience both relies on God for strength. Now, this is the hardest thing I ever have done, but I know in his obedience, I'll find strength. And then I also have an expectation that he's going to deliver me, that he's going to make a way. I don't know how, but I know who. So he continues. He puts down the wood like he always does. Then he starts to tie Isaac to it. By this time, I'm sure he's sweating. Says, God, but I got receipts. I know you're good. I know you're faithful. I know you're able. I know you're a way maker. Oh, anybody just had to just start writing down what you know God to be. I know you to be a healer. How you know him by experience. How it's not just your grandmother's testimony. It's not just your mama's testimony, but you have your own testimony of how he made a way, how he stepped in just in the nick of time. And you start testifying to yourself, Lord, now it's getting close now. I'm putting them on the wood. I need you to provide, or I need strength to do this. I need you to help me. I'm in a season where I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that you're going to make a way. I'm trusting you that you're going to give me strength. I'm trusting you that you're going to come through. But all the while he's trusting, he's obeying the instructions. All the while he's trusting, he's obeying the instructions. So he ties the boy to the wood and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son, because he said, if he don't stop me, I got to do it. I'm at a place in my life that I'm going to trust and obey God. I know this is my dear beloved son, but I got to know that if he gave me this one, he'll give me another one. I got to know if he's requiring me to kill it, he know what he's doing. If he's requiring me to lay it down, he know what he's doing. If he's requiring me to make it a sacrifice, then he know what he's doing. How many companies did I sacrifice for where I am now? How many friendships did I have to sacrifice for the peace that I have now? How many relationships? And did you love it? Of course you did. Did you cherish it? Of course you did. But if God knew something greater than you knew, then obedience was better than sacrifice. I've got to obey him. I've got to know that he knows what he's talking about. If he gave me that one, he can give me another one. If he gave me that job, then he has another one that's even greater. So he gets to the point where the knife is going up over his head and he's getting ready to kill what he loves. And all of a sudden, just then, an angel of God, what a great story. Just then, an angel of God called out to him out of heaven. Abraham, remember, God was testing his hearing. He said, I need to make sure he can hear. I need to make sure he hears clearly, because I'm going to have to talk to him again and he can't miss it. How close will you get? How far will you go? Waiting to hear God. Abraham, Abraham. And knife up in the air. He said, yes, I'm listening. Because he's trying to figure out if there's a new instruction. If it's something else that's required of me. And all of a sudden he hears, don't lay your hand on that boy. And can you imagine the sigh of relief, Nona? Can you imagine you getting ready to kill your business? You getting ready to kill the relationship. You getting ready to kill your joy. You getting ready to kill your peace. You getting ready to kill the project. You getting ready to kill the plan. But you know it was from God. You know it was the promise. You know it was what God said. You know it was the manifestation of prophecy. But God said, kill it. Can you imagine just when you hear another voice calling your name and said, don't you lay a hand on it, that all you can do is, because you were willing to obey to the fullest, and you didn't realize that's what the test was all about. He says, for what I'm getting ready to do next in your life, I need to know that you love me more than you love it. I need to know that if it die, you know I can resurrect it. That if it dies, you know I'll give you the strength to birth another. He says, I had to test you so you would know that I trust you. I trust you to go all the way if you had to, but because you were willing, I'll make sure you won't. Because you were willing, I'll stop the knife. Because you were willing, I'll stop the burial. Because you're willing, I'll keep it alive. I know you love the business. I won't let it die. I know you love the promise. I won't let it die. I know this marriage is what you prayed for. I won't let it die. I know the relationship is necessary. I won't let it die. But now you know that it's in proper alignment. Now you know that I come before it. Now you know that if you have to kill it, you will. Now you know the proper response if you're going to trust and obey God. And all of a sudden, Abraham looked up. Oh my God. And what did he see? He saw a ram in the bush. Lord have mercy. Somebody say, just in the nick of time, here come a ram. Just in the nick of time, here comes a sheep. Just in the nick of time, God gonna make a way. Just in the nick of time, breakthrough is coming. Just in the nick of time, God will provide. Anybody got a just in the nick of time moment? Lord, I need it right now. Lord, I just need you to show up in the nick of time. Somewhere between now and Monday morning, I need you to show up in the nick of time. Somewhere between now and when they call for me to pay the bill, I need you to show up in the nick of time. I was just about to kill the business. I need you to show up in the nick of time. They just told me that the thing was dying. I need you to show up in the nick of time. Abraham looked up and he's found a ram with his horns caught up in a thicket, caught up in the bush. He said, oh, thank you, God. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it instead of his son. Somebody said, thank God for the substitute. Thank God for the substitute. I almost killed it, but God provided. I almost killed it, but God made a way. I almost killed it, but now I got another receipt. I know him as Jehovah Jireh. I know him as the one who provides. Oh my God, it's no way that he would allow me to trust and obey him and he not provide. Lesson number 5 says, what God requires, he provides. What God requires, he provides. If he requires obedience, he will provide the sacrifice. He will provide what you need to obey. What God requires, he will provide. But my obedience has to rely on the strength of God and my expectation to know that he will deliver. Oh, I got to know, but I have to be willing to obey God quickly. I've got to be willing to obey and sacrifice even when I don't have the answer. Oh God, you got to know that God will provide. You got to know that he is the great provider. You got to know that you can come to him with whatever it is, whatever list came from school, whatever list came from the job, whatever petition you wrote yourself. You've got to know that he is a provider. You've got to know that you can place it at his feet. You've got to know that you can lay it down. You've got to know that you can give it to him, and before it dies, he will provide a sacrifice. He won't let it be destroyed. He won't let it be delayed. But sometimes, how close do I have to get? How close do I have to get to almost killing it before he provides? Sometimes he waits till the 25th hour. You got to go and ask Mary and Martha. He loved Lazarus, but he stayed 3 days extra where he was. He loved Lazarus, but he delayed his coming because he had a greater goal in mind. Oh, wait a minute. You mean you love me, but you're going to let it die? You mean you know that I love my brother, and I know if you were here, it would go another way. He said, He said, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to let it get stinky. I'm going to let it get bad. He said, because I need you to know me in a greater way. Some stuff died. But you don't know that he has resurrection power. Some stuff died, but I'm telling you, you don't know that he knows how to get it up. All he has to do is call it by name. What died in your life? It could be your business. Call it by name. It could be a relationship. Call it by name. It could be a family member that you haven't talked to in a long time. Call it by name. Lord, we used to be close, but it looked like the relationship died. But there's power in resurrection. He went to the grave and he called forth Lazarus. Lazarus jumped up out of the grave. Just when you thought it was over, he knows how to show up in the nick of time. If I thought Bloom U was dying, all I would do was have to call it out. And I know because he lives on the inside of me, there's resurrection anointing on the inside of me. It don't have to die, but I got to speak to it. I got to call for it, but I just can't call business. I got to call my business because I need it to hear. I need it to get up. And I don't know, but I'm telling you, there's an anointing. If you would open your mouth, I know there's some things that are dying. I know there's some things that have died, but I feel like Abraham, Lord, I trust and obey, but I'm a prophesy in my obedience that me and the lad shall return. My anointing is coming back. The glory of the Lord on my life is coming back. Me and the lad shall return. I know it looked like I'm going to kill it, but I'm prophesying. You're not just going to see me, but you're going to see me and it. Me and my faith are coming back. Me and my determination are coming back. What do you need to come back? Lord, I'm going to worship, but while I worship, I need you to add joy to me. I need you to add peace to me. I need you to add clarity to me. I need you to add a strategy. Servant, when you see me, you're not going to see me by myself. We'll be back. Oh, you need to prophesy to somebody. You need to look in the mirror and say, I know I'm trying to tell you my sad days are gone. I'm getting ready to go and worship and we'll be back. When I come out of worship, I'm going to look different because I'm coming out with my joy. I'm coming out with my peace. I'm coming out with more faith. I'm coming out with receipts because God not going to let it die. He's not going to let the ministry on the inside. He's not going to let it die. He's not going to let it be sacrificed. He just needed to know that I would if I had to. But I'm trying to tell you, this is the season of the biggest comeback of your life. This is the season that your bounce back game is going to be on 100. I'm making a comeback. I know the storm set me back. But what the storm didn't realize, I got enough to recover. I've got enough to bounce back. I've got enough to be restored. I've got enough to be renewed. I don't need a whole lot of battery. I just need a little bit until I can get plugged in. I just need a little bit of power until I can get to an outlet. I just need a little bit of power until I can get a power surge. I got enough to begin again. I've got enough to start all over. I've got enough to finish the race. I've got enough to work through it. I got enough to work on it. Oh my God. I wish you would tell somebody I'm on my way back and I'm not coming empty-handed. I'm on my way back and I'm not coming without it. He said I could have it. I waited on it. I even messed up and put my hand on it. But now that I got it, I refuse to lose it. Now that I got it, I refuse to lose it. Me and the boy, we will be back. Me and the yes, it messed up last season. Yes, the business almost blew up last season. Yes, it almost happened. Yes, I was almost destroyed. Yes, I was almost overtaken. But I told you to stay right there. I told you to stay right there. I told you and the donkey to stay right there. To be continued. Just wait on it. Because me and my joy shall be back. Me and the promises of God are coming back. Me and manifestation are coming back. I waited too long. I cried too long. I sacrificed too much. I left too much. I went without too much. That I'm not going to lose it right here. I know my will provide. I'm trying to tell you. Somebody thought it was the end of the story, Helen, but to be continued. Will be back. To be continued. I know you left because you thought it was over, but to be continued. You better pop some more popcorn because the story ain't ended right there. Will be back. Me and him. I'm not coming back by myself. I'm not going to the next level by myself. I'm not going to the next dimension by myself. Chris, you better tell him we'll be back. Kamitra, you better tell him we'll be back. Tanisha, you better tell him we'll be back. I remember, Tammy, one of the hardest things I ever had to do when Caleb was a young baby, he was staying home with me, and I said, oh, Lord, he needs some social interaction. I need to put him in a daycare because he can be around other kids, and that will help him develop. That would help him develop social and motor skills. And the hardest thing I ever had to do, Tammy, was drop him off. The hardest thing I ever had to do, Lakedra, was leave what I birthed with somebody that didn't know it. The worst thing, the hardest thing, I cried like a dog. And can you imagine? He had never been left. So we in the car, and I'm sure he's feeling like Isaac. He see this big old building. We walk into it. He's trying to figure out what we doing here. Where we going? Are we shopping? What we doing? And little does he know that this gonna be his new home 5 days a week. Little does he know I'm getting ready to drop him off. Little does he know I'm getting ready to leave him there. Little does he know that this is gonna be one of the hardest things I ever had to do. He was 9 pounds 12 ounces. He was larger than life. He was my Bob. Can I testify, Jazz? He was my Bob. He was my big old blessing. He almost killed me, Helen. 2 weeks later, I was in the hospital. Almost died because the blessing I birthed almost killed me. But this was a time that I needed to drop him off. But I knew he would not understand. And so I'm telling the people, this is going to be hard. And they said, ma'am, what we need you to do, we need you to drop him off and just walk away. I said, but I can't walk away. Wait a minute. I said, wait a minute, but let me just wave at him. They said, ma'am, it's already going to be separation anxiety for you and him. Drop him off and go. But when I turned around to walk away, y'all, all I could see was him crying like a baby because he could not understand why I would leave him. He could not understand why I would drop him off. Oh, but I had to trust and obey. I knew me leaving for a was going to be better for him later. He had to develop social skills. He had to develop motor skills. He had to learn how to his 1, 2, 3s and his ABCs. But he didn't understand. Why in the world would she leave me? Why in the world would she walk away? Some of us feel like God left us. He dropped us off and we don't understand when he will come back. We're crying all day and night, but we got to trust and obey. He had to know, mama love you. You've been home with me. I've nurtured you. I've fed you. He had receipts, but he didn't understand. He had receipts, but he could not fathom the fact that I would leave him in the hands of strangers. But what he did not know, Chris, that sooner or later I was coming back. He did not know that sooner or later Mama was coming back. I know you're crying now Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I'll be back. Dry your eyes. You God say, you don't have to cry. You don't have to worry. It's not separation. Anxiety will be back. Waiting. You've been trusting. You've been obeying and obeying. Lord say, will be back. I made you a promise. Then I went to make the promise. But I want you to know, just like I sent the word, will be back. I made you some promises. I told you I was going to do it. I'm a promise keeping God. Though I tarry, wait for it. Though it has not shown up yet, you better wait on God, because he'll be back. And he's not coming back empty-handed. He's got a reward in his hand. He's got a promise in his hand. He's got your breakthrough in his hand. He's got miracles in his hand. He'll be back. What did the Lord tell you he was going to do? When did he tell you he was going to show up? How did he tell you he was going to work it out? Oh my God. But Abraham looked up, and I'm telling you, today is a good day to look up to the hill for which cometh your help. Your help cometh from the Lord. And I want you to be assured, beloved, that you'll be back. You'll be back to the place of abundance, back to the place of prosperity, back to the place of health, back to the place of strength. You'll be back. God is getting ready to do what he said he would concerning your life. Our God, they didn't even have to go get him. He was running to me. He wasn't crying. My mama never just left me. My mama never did anything to hurt me. My mama, surely she'll be back. Surely she gonna pick me up. And when he saw me, I'm telling you, it was something to behold. Because I came back. And I'm trying to tell you, even though you may feel lost in this season, your sacrifice will not go without reward. Your sacrifice will not go without reward. And I promise you, in this next season, we'll be back. We come